For tonight's shave, this is a golden nib knot. It is a Silvertip, and it's their premium grade, the golden nib. And I can't remember if the is part of their website, but if you Google it, you'll find it. TGN is how a lot of people abbreviate it online, and so you see a lot of brushes that have been made that use their knots. They're just really good. I am a big fan of their Silvertips, and this is a DS Cosmetics or Shave Forge type handle. DS Cosmetics has them for a little cheaper than Shave Forge. I'm going to put it in my jar. And I find these knots have a lot. They're poofy, soft, just enough backbone to stir up any soap that you need, but very comfortable, low on the backbone scale, and that's what I enjoy. And I am going to take, while I prep, I'm going to take my soap. This is in the wooden bowl, and this is DR Harris. This particular scent is, does it say on there? Yeah, Marlborough. Ha! It's so big. I love this scent. I like their Arlington as well. Those are my two favorites. Almond is good, but it's kind of standard almond. And then they have Windsor, and that's a little more ladylike, but still I do enjoy it. It's kind of got a regal feel to it if I want to feel like British royalty or something. The razor I'm going to use today normally comes on this fat handle. That's kind of what it's called. It's a great little handle. You can see it's got checking on the grooves there, on the ridges, and so it's really good in terms of the gripability during the shave. It's got a great thickness to it that I really enjoy, but the reason I'm not going to use it, and this kind of came as a surprise to me one day, when you put a head on this, even when it's a head as light as this thin tech head, it's just off balance. It's heavy on the head side, and if you like your razors balanced that way, more toward the head, then you're in luck. But I put this Maggard handle on it, and so we'll give it a shot. I think it kind of fits the lines and of this particular head. Now the techs come in some different kinds. In the, I think, 60s, they started making them out of Zamac or pot metal, and they would plate them. And so those aren't going to last quite as long as the older ones than that. But then if you keep going back, before the war, pre-1940s-ish, then you get a different geometry with the blade, is my understanding. And how to tell the difference is, look at the holes. It's not a flat piece right here. There's a slight V shape on the inside of all four of these drain areas, and that makes it a pre-war tech from my understanding. So it's a wonderful razor. I've used this one I think once before. One of the great things about the techs is they have these four posts, very small shallow posts on the corner of the top cap, and they hold the blade in exact position. Love that. Don't have to worry about the blade alignment at all. And today for the blade, we'll use my Gillette Silver Blue. It's got about 12 uses in it. Here we go. And as I mentioned, we'll just drop it in there. Not only does it have the four posts, but it's got that center rail that helps it as well. Just an excellent design. There's no surprise why these razors were made for such a long time in America's history. Guys have carried these to war, several different wars by now. And so we've got the post there. It's a kind of a short one, and that's kind of good because of the travel aspects. A lot of these razors were made to go in little small travel kits, and so with a shorter post you have a little bit ease of a smaller case. And this is a Maggard's handle that I put on it, stainless steel. So Brass is probably the, I believe, the construction inside the head, and it's plated with, you know, stainless steel or whatever. All right. We're ready to go. Splash some water on my face. All right. The soap, I'm going to pick it up and pour off the extra little bit of water. DR Harris is an actual hard soap. It's not like Barrister and Man or Holy Cow or Soap Commander or any of those American artisan soaps. It is an actual triple milled hard soap, and so you can, if you want to, put water on it and bloom it or soak it prior to the shave. It can save you time on loading. You don't have to soak it. All right. I am going to take this is a 22 millimeter Silvertip Badger knot. I'm going to take most of the water out of it, just kind of slinging it like this until I don't get anything else. And then we'll start loading. Right at the 10-second mark is just fine. I'm doing this for a friend online, and I really like my DR Harris soaps, but I just haven't used them in a while, and so he had a question. And he's trying to find a good procedure to use when he bowl lathers it. When he face lathers the DR Harris, he's having a really easy time knowing when to stop adding water and all that stuff. But when he bowl lathers, it was ending up to be not slick enough. So could that be too much soap, not enough soap, you know, and conversely, too much water, not enough water? So we're going to give it a shot. All right, so this is going to end up to be a 50-second load. I figure why not go for the larger amount, and we can always back it down from there. 50 seconds should be plenty for this. One of the neat things about DR Harris is that they are kind of the only big British soap company that is still making their own hard soaps. The other three kind of start with T, so it's easy to remember: True Fit and Hill, Trumpers, Georgia Trumpers, and Taylorville Bond Street. All three of those, they make good creams, and those are well worth your money if you like them. And but their hard soaps that they make, they contracted out to someone else, and so you're just paying for the name. It's not as good of a soap as it used to be, and so you're probably better off spending your money somewhere else, in my opinion at least. But Harris still makes, I believe they make creams as well, but the hard soaps that they make are still made in-house by them, and they're still excellent. So I respect them a lot for that. This is what the loaded brush looks like. I took a break there for a second to rinse the soap off the sides of that wooden bowl. So this is what lather's going to look like when created with a big poofy Badger brush. Immediately it kind of comes up into this a very light foam, but as we know from other soaps, we need to press through that foam, keep mixing. It'll become more dense as we add water and as we mix. But I just want to bring, using the water that's in the brush, I'm kind of bringing up that soap into whatever it's going to give me for now. Then we will start adding more water. I don't remember the water I added last time, and so I can't duplicate that, but actually look at all this soap that we're getting with just the light amount of water that was already in the brush. Some soaps do prefer you to mix them like this in kind of a dry state first. I don't think DR Harris is one of them. It's reacting, you know, but I don't think you necessarily have to do this. Wow, quite a bit here. All right, so now, because this is doing so much, I'm going to add water a little more slowly than usual. I'm going to kind of go back to my old days of half a teaspoon at a time. I won't stir too long before I add the next batch. But as usual, there is a play speed button on YouTube. You can hit that little gear icon when you hover over the video, go to speed, change it from 1.0 to something like 1.2 or 1.5, and you'll still be able to understand probably some of my words, but you won't have to watch it in real time. Now when it looks like this water is mixed properly for the most part, then I will move on. One of the things he was complaining about online was that not really complaining, you know, expressing a problem, was that it would look right in the bowl, and there would be a substantial amount, but it just wasn't slick on the face. The razor would kind of skip around or just be dry feeling, you know. I believe he was talking that the slickness just that he would get when he would face lather just wasn't there. And one of the distinct advantages of a face lather is that you have this instant feeling via your face about how when the lather becomes creamy, when it switches from being just kind of a soap and a water mix to that creamy, nice lather. And so you can just keep adding water until you get there. All right. But it has other disadvantages that I kind of don't like, and so that's why mostly I bowl lather. So I wanted to help this guy out. Let's just do a quick finger test. We're early in the process, maybe. Nice cushion. It is kind of a watery. Now we've got some, oh yeah, we may need to stop right there. Got some nice slickness. I can feel the ridges in my fingertips. But a lot of that is being hidden by the slickness, and so this may be a good place to stop. So what I'll do, it's so tricky. There are some soaps that start thick when you are at this point. Early on, they start thick, and then they just, in a very predictable way, they get thinner as you add more water, kind of like you would expect. However, there are some other soaps that start thin, and then as you add more water, they gain in density and slickness. And so you can't use the same rules when you make one as when you make the other. I just did a hard soap the other day. What was it? And it also, Sella. I was playing around with Sella, and it was doing the same trick to me, where I was just ending up with too much water, I think. And so it was just the razors were skipping across my face and stuttering, and just the slickness just wasn't there. So I have just added 1 teaspoon of water, so not a lot. And I one of the things you can do, if it seems like it's a little too airy and not dense enough, just mix for just a little bit longer, like I'm doing. And look at this. Now with a lot of artisan soaps, if it's peaky like this and it has this kind of appearance, look at the shape that it's holding off the side of the brush, holding it pretty well. This may be just a high structure soap, high structure lather, which means it does that. Take a look at that little guy. And some soaps are just that way. A lot of the artisans in America, this means I need to add more water, but this soap may be different. All right, now that we've done some mixing, we've probably reduced or made it a little bit more creamy by reducing some of the air bubbles. Let's take another. Yeah, that feels really good. All right, so we'll put that aside and get ready for a second. So this is kind of the amount of and the appearance of the lather that we've generated. And one of the things that can happen is, number one, this might be just right. I'm going to try not to speak on anything that I don't know about and just stick with what I do have experience with. What could happen right now is that this is perfect, and I'll put it on, I'll feel that slickness. However, if it's underwatered and this is one of those soaps that's kind of sneaky and needs to have more water before it starts to thicken up, if that's the case, then what's going to happen is it'll be kind of dry, and I'll have to add some water to my brush, and then I'll feel it. And then sometimes even the brush will start getting thicker and thicker with the lather as what's in the brush becomes more hydrated. And so some will still be on my face, but after I lather up, my brush could be thicker with soap than what you see right here, because it's a little too concentrated right now and needs more water. So we'll see what we end up with. Splash of water on my face. And I remove the excess droplets, so the face is just lightly wet. And I do have hard water, so, and I've used this soap before, so I know it's hard water tolerant. All right. Usually you get a feel pretty quick as to whether or not it's too dry, because as you start to move across your whole face, the soap will just be too dry. Oh man, what a great scent this is. And this might actually be just a hair too dry. I may have stopped a little too soon, but see, that's the, yep. See, look, as I do my swipe, actually, no, that's pretty close. Let's just keep on rubbing a little bit. I do think I need to add just a few drops. I didn't want to overwater. But the good news is, since I use this syringe to track my water usage here, then I'll be able to tell you at the end of the shave how much water was involved in making the lather, so that if somebody wants to reproduce this that might be having problems, they can. Okay, let's switch back to scrubbing. Gotta clean those oils off the face. I don't do a pre-shave. Gets rid of some skin cells that are just hanging out. Cleans the hairs, make them ready to be cut. All right, this feels terrific. One thing to notice when I do a stroke like this, then I look right here. See, there's a pock right here. Maybe a few other places where it's a little clumpy. Sometimes that means that it is too dry. So let's add a little bit more. And this is why I prefer to get a good formula down with bowl lathering instead of face lathering, so I'm not here adding drop by drop of water to my brush. Yep, and there we go. Feels really good on the face. And the Tech is a mild razor. I did some research online, and some people think that the pre-war Tech is more aggressive, more efficient than the post-war Tech, and so they have their favorites. But then there's the guys that say the exact opposite, and so let's see how it does for me. It's usually a pretty mild razor. It's one of the reasons they were so popular, because pretty much everybody could use them without getting hurt. And all it takes is a little bit of research by you as the user to find the angle that cuts really well. Comfortable shave here. I'm getting nice glide, so it looks like the soap bonded to my skin really well. Sometimes that doesn't happen if your lather is too dry. What a great little razor. And so if it's a mild razor, what that means is that the blade is more recessed, generally, in the between the two other metal pieces that guard it. what that translates into is a smaller angle range of effectiveness. And so if you don't hit that, you're not going to get a very good cut. But the trade-off is that you're not going to cut yourself because it's harder to get the angle right. So some people use these types of razors and they claim that they're just too mild for them. Well, it's because they didn't work to get the angle right. Now, I'm not saying I got the angle perfect. It's been a very long time since I've used this razor, but it sure felt good, especially for a first pass. I'm going to rinse. All right, face felt nice and creamy as I rinsed that away. So it seems like I got a pretty good handle on this lather. I'm going to add just a tiny bit more to the bowl since the brush is what I added the water to earlier. Oh, I love this scent. I'm glad to come back to this guy. It's been a while. The DR Harris was one of those that, I don't know, was it recommended on Amazon when I was first starting? And so a couple of pucks I found a really good sale on because it can be expensive. So wait for sales if you have a problem. Man, I love this poofy brush. Super soft, feels luxurious. It's not going to stir up any brush burn. If you've got some tender areas, really like it. All right, excellent. So now, anybody can get the angle close when it's the first pass because the hair's the longest. So now's when we need to focus on getting it right. Light touch. No pressure isn't really the right term to use, unless maybe you are a person that's just putting way too much pressure, and relatively speaking, saying no pressure might help. Might help the person to come down the right amount so that they're not pressing down too hard. I'm hearing cutting, so that's obviously a good sign. But with these mild razors, if you initially do not get a good shave from them, I advise you to take your time, work on your angle, and when you discover that right, correct angle to use, then you will be rewarded with a very smooth shaver and efficient at the same time. And these mild razors are the ones that have the best chance at letting me be able to go against the grain on my neck, which I usually cannot do. The lather is rinsing away easily from the head without really doing a jet type setting, and that means it's not too thick or not too dry. Feeling really good, very comfortable. I like this head a lot. That's hilarious. There are razors that cost, $200 that basically give me the same shave feel and probably the same result as this guy right here. Isn't that crazy? Rinse time. What happens with me with a lot of soaps is the first rinse isn't as slick as the rest of them, probably because the oils in my skin have knocked down the lather's effectiveness just a hair. And so this is a soap similar to that, where second rinses are where it's at, and you just get a really luxurious feel. I can tell that I've got this lather dialed in nicely for the way I like it, and probably the way a lot of people like it. That was just kind of a half rinse. So now let's do it again. Love these hard soaps. They last forever because they don't have the moisture and the butters and the oils to go bad. They may lose their scent just a you know, some, but in many cases, if you start back on an old soap, you get through the unscented top layer that has released its scent already, and you can get to a lower one that still has its scent locked in. And so I really like the hard soaps. What a great reason to revisit DR Harris that I haven't used in a while. And now I can document the water that I've used to make this a very good lather. 50 seconds of loading. And actually it seems about right. Now that was 50 seconds of loading with a few minutes of pre-soaking the puck with just lukewarm, actually cold water. And so that should be considered. And this is what I have left after applying 3 passes of lather. Scent strength while I'm using the soap is probably about a 4. Right now it's back down a little bit, maybe a 2 or a 3, because I'm not agitating the air around me or anything. But it's at a place where I really enjoy it. It's part of the shave, with me and present and all those other words. And just another cross grain pass. I'm not even bothering doing it cross grain in the other direction. This is my little sensitive area where I am going to be careful to try to get as much efficiently as I can. Even doing kind of a diagonal slide here. I am getting a nice, really good slickness on this one. That problem where the razor skips across because it's kind of grabbing your skin a little bit. I guess that's my assumption is that's often due to overly watered soap. And I guess you could say, or a lather that has, you know, too much soap in it. But, you know, the point is it's a higher concentration of water to soap than it should be. Now I'm not getting a lot of residual slickness. Once I shave the lather off, with this particular soap, at least in this concentration, you do not really want to go back, because I can feel the drag. You do not want to go back and hit that area again unless you relather. Well, this Gillette Silver Blue is working really well in this head. Just a delight to use. Very comfortable, wonderful. I can see why these, and the balance of the razor is really working out well for me. It's back maybe to here for this particular handle, and that lets me, I keep a tight grip, tight meaning not gripping on the handle, but close together, not spread out. I don't want leverage. I want it to be kind of a tight, close together grip like this, so that when I move my razor along the contours of my face, if I misestimate where a contour is, then the razor has a chance to move instead of press into my skin. Generates less irritation and can help your blades last longer. All right, rinse this third pass off. I'll also note that I used a soft brush on purpose today. There are higher backbone brushes, including the synthetics out there, that are going to really be able to dig up more soap more quickly than this type brush. So this, your time should be adjusted. If I used 50 seconds of loading time and you have a more stiff brush with more scritch, more scrub to it, higher backbone, then it's possible you may need to reduce that loading time. All right, just an excellent experience all the way around. Let's take a look at my neck and see if I need to do a touch-up. This was an excellent shave. I think that extra bit at the third pass where I did just a little stretching, pulled it to the side just a little bit, not a lot, and then just buffed a little right there, meaning short strokes repeated in the area. I think it cut it really, really well. I don't see any hairs with any length. I just see some tips, and it's been a long time since I've had a razor shave that close. And I got it off of a mild razor. Just because it's mild doesn't mean it's not going to cut you and give you a great shave. Excellent. Let's pick out a post shave product. All right, let's try flying hide. It might be related in some ways. This is more of a leather type scent and some other cool things like that. It does have a cooling agent in it, and so we'll see. Sometimes those will bother me a little bit. Can't remember if I tried this guy or not. So let's do it. The alcohol will actually help me know if my shave went really well. A little bit of stinging around, but sometimes an alcohol splash will actually bring up razor rash that wasn't there before. All right, I love that scent. That's a good scent. I just hope I can tolerate the cooling agent and all that. All right, so how much water did I end up using? Dang it, I can't remember if I refilled this. I don't think I did. I think this is just the one. So we're looking at 1 2/3 teaspoons of water used with a 50-second load and a few minutes of cold water pre-soak of the puck. So those are the stats if one needs to reproduce today's shave. And that load was with a soft brush, as I explained before. If you don't want to soak your soap, you don't have to. You can just load for just a little bit longer. One time when I was playing around with Williams, if I soaked it for several minutes, I could load it for 10 seconds. If I didn't soak it, I had to load it for about 50 or 60 seconds. So that gives you maybe an idea about what the comparison might be between soaked and unsoaked. Let's also look at how much lather was left over. We need to know the economy of that particular mix. Easily have two passes left over. So you might start dropping it down to maybe 40 seconds or something like that. Next time I might want to do that next time I start to put together this particular lather. But I'm really happy with the creaminess of the lather. It came together nicely. I do just only feel the ridges in my fingers. As you can see, it hasn't dried out. It feels really slick, creamy. I think as far as what I like to see in a lather, I hit it on the money with that. I'm glad I was a little precautious with stopping adding water a little sooner than I thought. I stopped at 1 teaspoon, and so as you can see, I had to add 2/3 by the time I was done adding water to the brush. I had added another 2/3 teaspoon of water. Excellent shave. See, these knots are just $25, $26 if I recall correctly, and it's just a tremendous knot. And this handle can be had for about $5, and then you add shipping, $6 on AliExpress. It's just an economical way to have an excellent knot. If you like the ones in the softer spectrum, then strongly encourage you to put one together like this. You buy the knot separately from the golden nib, and if you like the larger handle, then get this. They do have pre-made brushes there on their website, but I've got bigger hands. I need a better handle, and so silicone, a little bit of just standard silicone is all you need to fix it. Just put it on the bottom only and put it in there. I like to let it, and I put a rubber band or something around the hairs to hold it, and I just let it sit for about 3 days. I think maybe you only need to do it for maybe 1 day, but I like to make sure that glue is dried up. You don't have to put very much glue in there. Put just a little bit. You have a really good chance of being able to yank it out easily to change knots or something like that. But even if you put more in, it can be removed a lot easier than epoxy. So there we go. Just a tremendous knot. Really enjoy it. And for that price, $35, $40, you can have a great Badger brush that's really soft and luxurious. Whereas there are, if you like, there are other brushes that cost just tons more that give you pretty much the same result. After having the post-shave, the aftershave splash on me for a while, enjoying that scent, I went back to the puck of the Marlborough, and it seems like these are an excellent match. So there you go. Well, I'm really happy about the cooling agent that they used. It's like panenthol or something. It's not menthol. And it was very light experience for me. Really happy about that. A lot of times menthol will have a burning feeling to me instead of a cooling feeling. So very nice. And I don't think I mentioned it. A little bit of stinging with the alcohol splash, but that's gone pretty quickly. I think it did stir up just a little bit of redness, but I don't feel it. I'm sure it'll be gone very soon. So it looks like I'll be able to keep this very enjoyable flying hide splash here in my drawer. The ones that do inspire a little bit of irritation, I have to take to my room so that I can maybe use them a couple hours after I shave, because then my skin isn't as sensitive, and I often will enjoy them a lot better then. So I just got a wonderful shave with this pre-war tech head, and it was it matched really well with the Gillette Silver Blue. Look at that, there's nothing to it. It's just a stamped base plate there, and it worked so well. It gave me such a close cut after just 3 passes. Much more expensive razors have hit this neck recently and not given me as good of a cut in that many passes. So that's just what a terrific little guy. And the wonderful thing about it is they're not that hard for you to acquire off eBay or something. And they are not expensive. I mean, sometimes you can luck out and get like 4 of them for 20 bucks in a lot purchase. Okay, but here's what to look for. Obviously, you can look for rust. Now, sometimes if you see soap scum on them, that's no big deal at all. A little bit of scrubbing bubbles with no bleach or dish soap, that kind of thing, clean it right up. This had a little bit of that buildup down here. As you can see, with just one shave, it's gone. Here are some things that are on the bottom of the plate. I don't believe this one has. Oh, it's upside down, I think. And I don't believe this one has the letter designation that will tell you what year. And I believe that's true for the pre-wars. I don't think they started doing that right away. Yeah. So look for, if you want to find one of these guys, just look for those triangle shaped on one half of the hole, right there and there on all 4 of these holes. Look for that triangle part, and if you see that, it's a pre-war Gillette Tech razor. And I'm not saying you'll get the exact same feel and experience that I just did, because everybody's different, but I think you'll be rewarded. I think you'll enjoy it. So in a couple of days, I will try the post-war tech, and we'll see if it shaves any different. That was just excellent. That's just one of my favorite heads. How about that? That just became one of my favorite heads. How enjoyable. Man, nice. And just to show you, here's the standard way that this particular one looks. This is that bar handle, or I'm sorry, fat handle, I believe is what people usually call it. And it's just, as you can see, the balance point is very close to the head, and it's not a big deal, but I prefer the balance point to be a little farther down. Now the good news is, if the balance point is in the head, when you're shaving down right here, that weight can be transferred directly to the cutting surface instead of being distributed around, and so that part's cool. But I just like the balance to be in a little different place, but this is what it looks like. Now sometimes you'll see a thinner handle with a little ball on the end. It's called a ball end tech, but still look for those same triangle shaped holes, and it'll still be a pre-war tech. And my face feel, the cut that I've got on my face is like 96% baby butt smooth without even going against the grain. And that is above what I usually am able to get with a lot of other scenarios. So in terms of the cheeks as well as the neck, it's an excellent, excellent shave. Let alone you guys, you fortunate guys who can go against the grain, get those baby butt shave smooths, baby butt smooth shaves. You'll be able to do that very comfortably, I would guess, with this razor. So hopefully this helps you guys out there who might be struggling with your lather for the DR Harris It is a hard soap, and so it's not as easy to generate a lather than it is with a lot of the American Cropes. However, I believe that the soap itself is so good, it's triple milled, it'll last a very long time. I think it's probably, even though DR Harris is a little on the expensive side, by the time you add out how long it's going to last you, how many shaves it's going to give you, I'm going to bet it's going to end up cheaper than a lot of the American Cropes out there. And it's just a great performer. I'm really glad that I was able to hit it today. Sometimes I don't, overwatering is often, what I do. If you are bowl lathering, underwatering is a little safer because you can always add a little bit more water during the shave, and that's a little bit safer bet than overwatering. So there we go. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Have a good night.